Hello Twitchies, and welcome to your top 5 ADC videos, where we're going to be breaking down the top 5 ADCs that have been crushing it in the Smite Twitchy League in December, and 2 of them are not even hunters. So make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, and let's jump right into it. Incon's Top 5 ADC Edition. Number 5. Coming in at that number 5 spot, we have got Sol, the only mage making our top 5 ADC list here. Sol is basically the best version right now of a magical ADC. She's got a ton of auto attack damage because of the way that her heat mechanic works. She also works really well with the current magical ADC build, where they really want to get into that Hekate as fast as possible, which allows you to do those 1v1s with the enemy hunter because of that power transfer. Plus it gives you a bunch of sustain, which means you can also take her into items like Typhon's Fang in order to get more healing out of her, or you can even take the Death Stool all the way up to the Death's Embrace and get a bunch of sustain out of her that way. On top of that, crazy easy ways to get away. Built-in CC immunity with her ultimate, built-in sustain with the healing, plus she has one of the best getaway skills in the game to separate, which comes with bonus movement speed, plus it comes with a giant bead slash Aegis slash whatever the heck you want it to be. Basically the slightly worse version of Cherry 3, which we all know is one of the best abilities in the entire game. Because of her safety, because of her auto attack damage, and of course her burst damage with her solar bursts, she also comes in as kind of a mage hybrid over there as well, where somebody is like a Freya is strictly an auto attacker and also struggles in the early game lane clear. Sol doesn't have that problem because she's got tons of clear with her too, and that's what allows her to be in our number 5 slot. Number 4. He may not look a whole lot like a hunter, but his ADC capabilities are gnarly. Tsukiomi coming in at the number 4 spot in Assassin as an ADC. Now, if you don't watch a lot of high-end gameplay, this might seem a little bit crazy, but pros and like top tier ranked players have for a long time run some assassins periodically over in the duo lane, and Tsukiomi just happens to be one of the best assassins in the entire world right now, and he makes perfect sense in the hunter role because of the ranged autos that he gets from his 1 and his 3. So his 1 and his 3 are already ranged abilities, which can do good poke damage, but then on top of that they make your next auto attack ranged, which means he actually does provide some of that ranged cover that normally you would need a hunter to do. On top of that, a huge part of the reason why he ends up on the top 5 list is his ability to snowball in the lane. It is really hard for an enemy hunter to actually fight Tsukiomi in a 1v1 in the duo lane. So once those supports leave a couple of minutes into the game and you're left there by yourself against the Tsukiomi, his ability to just ulti you and do half of your HP, and then he's standing right on top of you as a hunter, is immensely problematic, which means he tends to get a lot of kills in the early game, tends to put the enemy hunter behind, and then all of a sudden he looks even stronger by comparison because he ends up with a couple of level lead. And that is how Tsukiomi found himself in the number 4 slot. Number 3. Galloping his way into the top 3, it is Chiron. The master himself is going to find himself in our top 3. Chiron, a lot of him comes down to his ability to really help support a team, even though he's a hunter, and his tricksy hobbits' way of staying alive, even though you were pretty dang sure you were going to kill him. He has a combination of things that have really made him strong. Step 1, his ability to ultimate after he has died basically and revive himself is always going to be strong in a burst meta, because if it's a burst meta, that means that Chiron is also doing a lot of damage as well as taking a lot of damage. So if you can continue to live after you've died and then all you have to do is hit your ultimate, it means that you've got a huge comeback potential to bring people out of position. and then ulti and save yourself. On top of that, his laning phase is extremely strong because he's got the built-in sustain with his passive. You using abilities means you get heals. Heals are really strong right now. Even that little bit of healing combined with Death Toll can make it really hard to fight Chiron in lane because you can't really poke him. You kind of have to 100 to 0 him. And finally, on top of that, he is quite safe with his giddy up, and he has really good range as far as hunters are concerned because of the extraordinary range of his ultimate, plus the fact that his 2 has no range limits whatsoever. As long as you've hit somebody with an ability or an auto attack, you're going to be able to proc that on him, which means it's actually really hard to get away from Chiron as well. And of course, the cleanse on his 1. Beautiful abilities to help out your team by cleansing CCs. Also important in a burst meta to be able to cleanse somebody out of a CC, especially if they're like your support who may not have a bees, guys. Now, before we get into our top 2, a word from the sponsor of today's video, Raid Shadow Legends. Support the Twitchiest community by downloading Raid Shadow Legends by using the link in the description down below and beating that tutorial. If you want to go the extra mile, you can support us even more by reaching level 25 in-game, and you can use our exclusive code SEDEC21 as long as you use our link to get even more extra goodies in-game on top of the free champion you're going to get, on top of the free silver and the free gems. And for a limited time, you can earn a legendary hero in-game by logging in for 7 days straight and help support the Twitchiest community raise $2,000 for the January Smite Twitchy League. Number 2. At number 2, still standing strong on our ADC top 5 list, it's your boy Cupid. Cupid really hasn't had any changes. There hasn't been any drastic changes to the Hunter meta since the November video, and Cupid still finds himself doing absolutely fantastic over in the duo lane for much of the same reasons. His lane clear is actually pretty good. Heart Bomb is severely underutilized, undervalued, I should say, hunter ability when it comes to lane clear. As long as you can get a couple of auto attacks on the wave, then you can group the whole thing up and you can go ahead and get the Heart Bomb to hit the whole wave. On top of that, most importantly, Cupid is a giant little ball of CC. The stun on his Heart Bomb is huge and the Hunter 1v1, and more importantly, his ultimate has that cripple effect, and the cripple effect on hunters is huge. Long story short, Cupid is the best counter pick hunter in the game. As a first pick, he's not quite as strong because people can pick CC immune ultis into you. They can try to get you back with like a Cherry who can always avoid your ulti. But as a counter pick hunter, Cupid is unmatched. He decimates many of the other meta gods on the list because of the fact that they are stuck in his ulti and you're forced to beads, and beads is on a really long cooldown, and Cupid is probably going into an early game Jotun's Wrath to lower his ultimate cooldown, which means he's going to be spamming it on you and you're only going to be able to avoid 1 in every 3 Cupid ults, give or take, which means that he's killing you 2 out of 3 times. He's going to get a bunch of XP, a bunch of gold. Congratulations. Now he's got Aussie before you, and now the hunter lane has started to snowball, which brings Cupid into our number 2 slot. Number 1. Finally, our number 1 spot, it is Izanami, guys. Izanami has really started to make some waves lately. We've seen her pop up all the way up into professional play. Quite a lot of teams starting to go favor her over in the duo lane. And Izanami always comes down to really the same thing. Lane clear is good. At all levels of gameplay, whether you're a new player playing Conquest for the first time, or whether you're a professional player vying it out for the World Tournament, lane clear is strong. If you can clear the wave fast, you can invade the jungle. If you're invading the jungle, that means you're getting more XP. If you're clearing the lane fast, it means you can go for fights. If you're going for fights with minions, chances are you're winning those fights in the early game, which means now you're snowballing ahead in levels and XP. You can see why Izanami always maintains herself very high up into the meta, especially in casuals and ranked, and even more recently, that professional level of play. Now on Izanami, you do need to keep in mind that our number 2 hunter, Cupid, is actually really good against Izanami because she does not have that CC immune ultimate. It does leave her a little bit susceptible to some of those more aggressive gods, so watch out for the her and Cupid specifically. A lot of the times they can take the fight straight to you, and they're going to try to do that because there's no way for them to out lane clear you. So your goal, win the lane clear every single time, get ahead early game, and then abuse the fact that you got so far ahead early. And that's what made Izanami not just the number 1 ADC of December, but the number 1 elo god in the entire STL. Now those are your top 5 hunters, Twitchies, of course ending with Izanami because of her unstoppable lane clear, her objective clearing potential, and overall general safetiness in the lane have brought her to be the number 1 hunter and number 1 ADC in the Smite Twitchy League. Couple of honorable mentions. The ADC role was actually very close. There was a lot of hunters kind of vying particularly for those lower end slots. Another list of hunters that are also doing really well right now. Her is doing fantastic. Her always has that really good 1v1 potential. His kit may be a little bit dated. It's a little bit simple, but simple doesn't mean bad. And he is still one of the premier 1v1 hunters in the game. On top of that, you've also got Rama. Rama, similar to Izanami, has that really good wave clear potential with his astral arrows. He just doesn't quite have as good lane clear as Izanami, which means he didn't quite make the list. And his ultimate can be really hard to utilize, but when Rama ult is proper utilized, it does a lot of damage, particularly in the late stages of the game. And finally, Shibalanke. Shibalanke got that buff a little bit ago, where he has a little bit more auto attack damage as baseline, and so he stacks really well with crit right now, which is obviously super in the meta for ADCs. So pairing him with those crit builds always works super well, and people always underestimate how much a Shibalanke ult can interrupt a team fight when it is used properly, guys. Those are your top 5 hunters of the December STL. Hope you learned something here today. Make sure you go try out those top gods, and of course, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, have a twitching day, y'all. Thank you for supporting the Twitchiest community. If you'd like to see more videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel and always hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of the upcoming videos. Thank you for all your support and have a twitching day, y'all.